The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
7:17, it's the WSJM Morning Show, and we just learned that Tim Denai is skipping Friday morning hockey to be here. Thank you, Dan, for outing Tim. He also says you look great. So, what do you usually do? Hockey on Friday mornings?
Actually, no. That's what I was telling Mike. My past hockey history has been. I played pickup hockey, but I played so poorly that I became a referee. So I'm not the guy that wants to be on the ice because my quote unquote friends, the moment you put on the referee sweater, they're not so kind to
I gotcha. Especially in hockey, I can imagine.
Oh, definitely.
I can imagine. All right. Well, we're here to talk about the FIRST Robotics. It's the FIRST Robotics Roundtable for 2025, and Tim Denai is a judge advisor for FIRST Robotics, and WSJM is happy to bring you this information because it just fascinates me. FIRST Robotics, basically there's a challenge put out there for kids in our area schools all over the nation, but in our area globally. Yeah. And they're given a challenge every year, and they come up with these amazing robots. They have these competitions. They're held in high school gymnasiums from time to time, and oh my goodness, it's like a basketball tournament. It's a sporting tournament. The crowd in participation is amazing.
Yeah, I would say that just personally, basketball aspires to be as energetic as FIRST Robotics event.
I'm with you.
You get a whole different level of buy-in to something.
Yeah.
We use the floor space that they use for a basketball game, but I've never been in the St. Joe gym and heard anything louder.
Yes.
More exciting than the most craziest things. Actually, the first event that I went to was in Niles High School. Yeah. And the event, real quickly, the end game of that particular year was essentially we had 3 robots potentially from an alliance that could try to balance on a teeter-totter.
Oh man.
Right? And it's happening in the last 30
these
seconds.
Things weigh how much?
120 to 140 pounds, and anyone else who's a mentor can really chime in and tell you. But you're watching these, and it's like they don't really seem to be able to balance, 2 of them. And then you see 3 robots balance themselves, and with 3 seconds to go in the game, and then all of a sudden the place erupts for something that anybody outside the building be like, "What's the big deal?"
Yeah, and it's FIRST Robotics. Yeah. It's FIRST Robotics, and so the Robotics Roundtable is our opportunity to bring you the teams, the sponsors who help those teams get to where they are, and then the coaches, because they're important and they're helping to guide the kids. They're not giving them solutions, they're not giving them answers, but they're giving them ways to find those. Yeah. And so FIRST Robotics, if you've never seen it before, explain, Tim, if you would, what is it? And by the way, I should mention the Robotics Roundtable on WSJM, brought to you by Cook Nuclear Plant and Lake Michigan College. But for those who don't know, FIRST Robotics, in a nutshell, what is it?
FIRST is a K through 12 STEM program, nonprofit organization. We're focusing right now, this is our first robotics competition season, FRC. That's the high school age kids. And we got together in the beginning of January. Yeah. They were revealed on what the game is. So they saw a video, and they got access to a manual, which gave them, here's all the criteria for the game. And now they've begun this process of, how do we tackle this game? What's the risk versus reward? How do we design, prototype, test, hopefully build or redesign, reprototype, test in a time frame that, anyone who's done anything in the real world, there's a timeline for when you need to get it done. So you start out in January going, wow, we got all kinds of time in the world. And now at this point in the time, we're creeping into mid-February and we got competitions in 4 weeks. We don't have so much time. We need to stop engineering and start really putting something together. So
so what's the game this year?
So this year, the game is called Reefscape.
Reefscape, REEF, like a coral reef.
Yeah, like coral reef. So you start out with, there is a coral reef that is a part of the game setup, and you either remove algae from the coral reef, add pieces onto the coral reef, which is basically a tube or a large ball. And there's an autonomous piece that happens in the first 15 seconds where you program the robot to do some of these functions. Then we go into what they call teleop, where you've got a driver and a driver.
Oh yeah, teleop. I do that every day.
So you've got, these kids, they live and breathe in that world. I mean, they're doing everything with a modified controller that looks like an Xbox controller.
What is teleop?
teleoperated. So it's remotely operated by the driver.
Oh,
And so you've got a connection to the robot, but
Okay.
it's not, in the first 15 seconds, it's autonomous. We've got somebody who's programmed. This is what we want the robot to do.
yeah.
There are 3 starting positions that any robot, the 3 of us, could be on alliance together. And
Yeah.
you can tell me our robot works best when we're on the right side of the field. Okay, well, mine works best on the center of the field. Mike, how about you? And Mike's like, hey, don't worry. We can do all 3 positions on the field.
Yeah.
We
Don't
just-
listen to Mike.
We just change his setting. Mike's a salesman. He's like, we can do anything.
Right. How many students are on each robotics team?
Literally, a team can be anything from 5 students to 80 students on a team.
Wow.
It's really based upon the structure of the support they have in the community, whether it's a community-based team, a high school-based team.
Yeah.
There's so many different sizes. And the amazing thing is I've seen teams literally on my field last year, 2 years ago. I was at, I had the opportunity to be a judge advisor at the world competition. And there was a team from Kalamazoo of 6 kids that was competing and won one of the awards that we gave away on our field. 6 kids. Wow. Yeah.
As a judge advisor, you know what the game is this year. You've seen what the teams have done in years past.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking? What's going to be the big challenge for this year's competition?
There's a piece in this game this year where they, at the very end, so there's a large trough that goes across the field, and in the end game,
when we're talking about a field, it's a basketball court.
It's the width of a basketball
It's
court.
basically the width and length of a basketball court, and it's fenced off with plexiglass, so the stuff that the robots are chucking around doesn't get into the audience.
Mostly.
It's pretty cool, mostly. And there are a couple of referees in there. Not inside the robot thing, because those things are moving too fast, but everyone's watching it, and the teams line up on either side at kind of under the nets, if you will, of a basketball court. And so keep going, please.
So there's a trough that goes across the
court,
middle of the field,
Yep.
and algae is collected, a ball is collected, and they toss it into the trough. So that's the purpose for the first 2 minutes of the game. The last 30 seconds, there is a chain that hangs down from there. Each robot can decide, do we want to be and it is some kid's going to tell me I got this wrong, but it's basically, I'm setting the level that I want to do a dive, either a shallow dive or a deep dive.
Oh my gosh.
If I have a shallow dive, then I can grab onto this chain and the robot can pull itself up. And it can pull itself up because the chain is pretty high. But if I choose to do the low setting, I basically have a chain that's 10 inches off of the ground or whatever it is. The robot can pull itself up and keep itself off of the ground. So if you think about it, you've extended something lower to the ground and you're trying to pull yourself up. There's a risk reward. I get more points for doing that, but that's probably kind of difficult to do.
Wow.
How do I have to be balanced? And it's a chain link. It's not a solid piece. So what are the physics of that? And, if I'm running into it real quick and I've got motion, well, that's going to affect how easily I can balance. All these things that start to come into play about what to do. So I think that's probably going to be one of the most exciting things is early on, we're going to see teams barely able to get up and hold on to something. And then it's going to be, I can do the shallow one, and then someone's going to do the low.
Yeah.
And that's the moment the gym gets really loud.
And, we were talking earlier this morning, Tim, and by the way, we're talking with Tim Denai. He's a judge advisor for FIRST Robotics and very involved in the teams around here. And he's been involved with WSJM with Robotics Roundup for how long now?
I think we said 10 years.
10 years.
This is about 10
this
years
is the 10th year.
Program.
And so this happens, but the way you're talking about it, I admire your passion for this. Very
There's a lot
passionate.
of my friends that slightly concerned about my passion for it.
I can see why. The things that the kids are learning, creating, demonstrating, that's real world stuff that they can use if they're interested in that field in a career forward.
And even I go back to the timeline, how to work collaboratively with a group of people, and you've got an idea and I've got an idea, and it's like, we disagree.
Got to work it out.
Maybe Mike has to be the tiebreaker and go, here's the benefits of both, which, learning that skill set, learning you're not always right, learning someone else has got the answer. There's, those kind of things. And then the pressure of a timeline. Yeah. And then when it all falls apart, because invariably it does.
Oh no!
Pick yourself up, dust yourself off. What did we learn? How can we improve on it? And let's just keep moving. Yeah. Those are skills that just to me, those are immeasurable. And you know, we kind of joked about, it's like, what did we have at that point in time in our lives?
Right.
Man, this could have been a game changer. You know,
yeah.
it's just, but, and quite honestly, for me, you know, I retired 2.5 years ago, and in the time that I was involved with FIRST, this program definitely changed my mindset of how I would tackle things that I was not comfortable doing. It was very hypocritical of me to talk to a student and go, just try it, you know, step outside your comfort zone. And then I would go Monday through Friday job, and it was like, Tim, we want you to do this. I'm like, I'm not comfortable. Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, especially, go ahead.
I was going to say this program, just seeing what students are capable of, kind of helped move me to the point where it's like, go try doing something like this. This right here, sitting here and having this conversation, Tim Denai in high school would have been like, not a chance.
What? Yeah, same here. I mean, and the legacy of this area, the history of the manufacturing, and the way that we've come up with innovative solutions throughout, just to continue to see that kids inspired by that and move through and make those robots that are doing things today that we thought not even imaginable a decade ago. Pretty cool. Yeah,
the two gentlemen we're going to meet in a couple of weeks. I mean, they're involved in automation in this area, and their career path has been kind of one that's the same thing, where it's like you learn, you find different ways. They didn't go off to a 4-year school or anything, but there's opportunities in this area, and they're helping to bring these students opportunities post K-12.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And it's Robotics Roundup 2025, and Tim Denai is our guest this morning. It's brought to you by Lake Michigan College and Cook Nuclear Power Plant. We appreciate their sponsorship. And again, to see not only the kids excited about this, but the team's sponsors. There are a lot of them that are helping out, so that's great, and we hope to talk with a bunch of those as we get through this season. There are big events coming up starting in March, right?
Yeah, so March 7th and 8th is the competition at St. Joseph High School, and then March 15th and 16th. So that's it's a Friday, Saturday for St. Joe, and then the event in Berrien Springs is the 15th and 16th, which is a Saturday, Sunday, and those are free, open to the public. Highly encourage you to come take a look at them. Bring your students to those to take a look at. And then also, we're at the point now where you ask, what are we doing? Well, the teams are developing their robots, and there's a group of us as volunteers. We're trying to recruit more volunteers. And you don't have to know anything about robots to be a part of volunteering for the event. Great opportunities. We will feed you for the 1 or 2 days that you work for us. You end up walking out with a shirt, and you probably come into an experience that that could be a little bit life-changing. I'm biased that way.
That's outstanding.
But so I've shared some information with you, Ken, and maybe we can post it, you know, that it's a direct link to go volunteer for either the Berrien Springs event or the St. Joseph event. And then also, I think I shared with you a video that's there's a link to just go see what the game is that they're working on and the theming of the game. I mean, if you watch this video, I mean, they're in aqua suits and they're ready to go. So
it's really cool. I can't wait to see this competition. Can't wait to see this competition. Tim Denai, Judge Advisor for FIRST Robotics, and we've got Robotics Roundtable. That's our first edition. Thank you to Cook Nuclear Power Plant and Lake Michigan College for sponsoring and bringing this. Teams to watch out for. How many do we have in our conference?
There is, not a conference in this area. Just we've got, off the top of my head, there's easily 15 teams within our footprint. And our footprint goes into a couple of counties. Okay.
So a lot of competition, a lot of intensity, and we look forward to bringing that to you. We'll talk more about it next week right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Tim, stick around if you have it for a couple of minutes. We'll keep talking to people on the video live stream. We'll come back. We've got Bloomberg Market Minute, ABC News, local sports. It's all right here.